number for an extension, you'll first need to log into Provisioning Manager with your username and password credentials. Once logged in, we can go to Services, Extension, and then we can type in the extension number we want to set personal number for, and click on Change. This will take us to the extension's basic information, and once here we can scroll down and there is actually a personal number area where we can then click on Edit. Now, an extension can have up to 5 different profiles configured. Each profile can contain a maximum of 10 answering positions. It's quite useful if you have a worker that's working in the office and then sometimes they're working out on site, so they can have different profiles that route their calls to different answering positions. You do need to set profile 1 up first, and I'm going to set this up as if it's the user's in-office profile. So I'm going to click on my change icon here, and that allows me to go in and start setting up my call sequences. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the profile name from profile 1 to something meaningful to our user. For example, this is our office profile. And because it is my office profile and I should be in the office, I'm going to want my first call sequence to be my extension number, 1029. I can choose how long my extension rings for before routing the call somewhere else. So 20 seconds is the default. You can increase or decrease that value. I can also choose where to send my calls if that number is actually busy. So the options I have is I can reroute this to a switchboard operator. I can send out busy tone to my caller. I can go to the next sequence in the list, or I can jump to any other sequence in my list as long as that sequence has been configured. I'm going to choose next sequence. The same thing if my extension has Do Not Disturb active. I can also choose what happens to my callers then. The default is to have no progress, but I could bypass Do Not Disturb and then ring through to my extension. Or, as before, I can go to the next sequence in the list or skip a sequence. You have other options that you can configure. This use once is mainly if you're routing a call through to an external source. It just means that one external number can go to the external divert position at any one time to avoid any congestion. I can also choose where I accept my calls from. So can I receive an internal call, an operator call, or an external call? So those are generally selected by default. These other options really depend on how you want your personal number list to work. For example, the individual repeated diversion bypass option means that if the calling party that's ringing in is a part of our call sequence, then personal number is disabled for that caller and the calls do not route through to all the different call sequences within that profile. Also, if this extension can receive SMS or instant messaging, we can route those through to an extension within the call sequence as well, as long as, of course, those also support that media. The other options is if the extension has got external follow me, diversion, or diversion or no reply configured. If you select those options, basically the personal number list becomes inactive again, and the preference would be to go to the divert position that's been configured within those individual areas. Once you've configured your first call sequence, then we basically repeat the process for call sequence number 2, 3, 4, and so on. My call sequence number 2, I'm going to send this through to a colleague of mine. And then if my colleague's not there, my third call sequence, I'm going to send that through to voicemail. It is worth noting that the last call sequence in your list should be an answering position that will actually answer the call, for example, voicemail. So once you're happy with that, we can click on Continue, and that will take us back to our main personal number list page. You'll see that will become active as soon as I click on Continue and apply this. However, I want to set up a second profile for when the user is out of the office. So I'm going to click on change here. I'm going to give my list a new name. And I'm going to this time say that my first call sequence, I actually want this to go straight to my mobile. And I don't want it to go anywhere else. So I'm going to click on continue. And you'll notice that I have two profiles configured, one for in the office and one for out of the office. I'm going to click on continue. I'm going to click on apply. This should give me a successful operation notification. Let's have a little think there. There we go. Click on done. And our personal number has been created and list 1 is active by default. Thanks for listening. See you next time.